Sacramentos.
All right, we're recording. So, it is the 9th of March, 2020. This is our first official episode. Jim couldn't make it. He's sleeping in or something. Don't know what's going on with him. Our working title is going to be Disagree to Agree, or we never get back to...
I guess we can go with that for right now. And then
we can change it later. And so we tasked ourselves with the job of figuring out a topic. The topic this week being, we're going to talk about politics and sports and what that's supposed to be and if it's supposed to be there and how we feel about it in general. I did a little digging as far as some historical and then current. The easy, lazy stuff we can talk about, Kaepernick and his knees. And my favorite current one is the baseball one that I sent you guys in the group text. Did anybody read that article?
No.
Oh, which one?
The baseball one where Congress or the Senate had written a request for Major League Baseball to allow this guy into the Hall of Fame, because basically the story is that he was a player of color back in the day who was pushing for the collective bargaining and players' rights and autonomy or whatever, and ended up losing some playing time because of some of the politics of it. And most people argue that if he would have gotten to continue his career as is, because he got injured at some point too and never came back from the injury. But
didn't Bo make it in the Hall of Fame even though he broke his hip?
Yeah, I don't know actually. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame or not.
I don't know either.
But
No, he's at least in the College Football Hall of Fame.
For Auburn.
Yes.
But I take no issue with, the whether it's controversial that this guy's not in the Hall of Fame or not. It's one thing. What bothers me about it is, doesn't Congress have better shit to do than try to tell baseball what to do about a Hall of Famer? We're not even talking about steroid use in baseball and all the other stuff that
they spend money on. Like there was a whole Congress session on steroids and all that kind of.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
What's that point? Like, shouldn't they be doing stuff more important?
Right, and I think that's kind of in all the different parts of the topic that I kind of looked at it. The overarching thing to me was like, I get baseball specifically, it's America's sport or whatever, but sports in general, because football is more America's game now, more America's game now than baseball is anymore anyway. But either one, it's just a business with franchises. That's all it is. Major League Baseball, and there are 28 franchise teams? I'm showing my ignorance in baseball right now, but they're franchise teams. It's just like a McDonald's franchise.
The government shouldn't have play in a lot of things they have play in, though.
Right.
Well, we'll stick it to sports right now.
Right. That's the topic.
That's the topic.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep this from not going a 4-hour episode.
But why should they? Why should any government agency have anything to do with sports at all?
Well, but again, but I agree. And the broader question being, why that business of sports more than any other business, particularly? I don't see. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I guess the analogy to me would be like, Congress gets in and writes a letter to Bill Gates. And it's like, you need to enshrine Steve Jobs in your Hall of Fame because he was part of the beginning of your company and he helped make you what you are. So you've got to enshrine him as part of it, even though he's dead now or whatever. And it's like, they're not going to do that because it's.
Should we do that for Anthony that works for us? And then he's a disabled veteran. He works so hard. So now Congress comes down and tells us that we have to put him in our Hall of Fame of best employees ever.
He needs to be an Employee of the Month on our Employee of the Month chart because
he's
because we've never had one. But yeah, exactly. It's like, why? Like,
when you only have 4 employees, they just rotate. They would all have 3 a year.
Right, 3 a year. I give Brandy an extra one because she works the least, just to piss them off, just to make sure we got enough. The girls have to have equal representation, even though there's only one of them.
We just make her Employee of the Month every month.
We're trying at least 6 months of the year. It's got to be a girl 6 months of the year, and it can be a boy the other way.
You can be Employee of the Month, and I'll be Employee of the Month. And you be Employee of the Month.
Was it my turn to be Employee of the Month again?
Oh. Steve could have been Employee of the Month once. Oh, well, I guess not. He never actually worked there. Not on paper.
That's right.
But yeah, so that was my thing with that one. It's like, of any business, why is it not the first question of like, not even it's none of your business, Congress. It's you got better shit to do.
I mean, it'd be one thing if a major league sport was saying we're not going to allow, NFL, we're not going to allow Eskimos into the NFL because we don't think they're good people. Now, I could see government stepping in something like that and saying, hey, no, you can't say that this person cannot be in your league.
Right.
But I don't know why they jump in on steroids and they jump in there's a whole thing on the whole, the Colin Kaepernick kneeling thing.
Right.
They had a whole session on that.
Right.
And why is that?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I don't. That's where I don't understand it. But on the Kaepernick knee thing, I mean, it's like taking the business owner approach to it. If I'm the owner of the 49ers, or if I'm Goodell or whoever the commissioner of football is right now, does he have the authority to tell an employee? That he has to stand during the national anthem?
Well, see, there was a whole big thing about in the NFL bylaws, it reads that you have that all the players will stand for the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, it's in the bylaws, they should stand, which I understand the people that are saying that, but they're not reading all the other stuff that are in the bylaws.
Right.
That says they should stand shoulder to shoulder. And they're not, we've watched on NFL games, they're not standing shoulder to shoulder, they're all over the place.
We're just picking that one now because
we're picking
now.
the kneeling
right.
thing out rather than all the other stuff. So I don't think that was the case. But I think the whole kneeling thing was, me being a veteran and stuff, and you think it's a little, on a personal level, I think it's disgraceful to not stand for our country, but then that's your right.
Well, the question to me is are we as the audience only seeing the product of football, and there aren't individuals? There's no individuals in football. It's a team, and one individual of the team represents the entire team. Or is it, that is one individual who has something to say, and he can say that, and it doesn't affect the whole game or the whole team or the whole sport at large. That's the thing that I've researched a couple different topics on it, and that was the kind of general summary I came across on of it. It's where, and I guess it goes outside of sports too, where do we get as a culture by enshrining our athletes or entertainers as either moral or politically superior, that their opinions on a thing are more important than my opinion, your opinion, whatever, whoever out there. Because I actually shot myself in the foot trying to research it, because I was like, are these guys even smart enough to have an opinion on it? And so I went and looked up, because Sherman was the other one that was really vocal about the coaching thing that we've talked about in private off the podcast before or whatever. And the whole coaching, there's not enough coaches of colors in football, 70% player, 3% high level coaching or whatever 11%. It is. Yeah. And so I was like, oh man, he's a football player. That's all he's done his whole life. Has he done anything other than football? Does he have any knowledge outside of that? And I think he was a poli-sci major from Stanford. It's oh, well, he went to a pretty good school, graduated from a pretty good school, actually graduated, finished his degree in 3 years in political science or something like that. I was like, okay, so.
Oh, it's Stanford, though.
Yeah.
It's California.
Well, yeah, true.
So
but
their political views are a little bit different. Sorry if there's any true. California listeners out there.
Not yet, but eventually. You'll get some. You'll get some of your Marine guys listening to us. But that was my thing. But I shot myself in the foot. So I was like, I'm sure they went to frickin', Alabama or whatever and didn't finish their degree and just were playing football, which is fine. I don't take issue with that fact, but that doesn't give them knowledge base and authority to speak on certain matters. And I think that's I think that's the general rule, though, is we look at it. It's Aaron Rodgers is real vocal about the players agreement right now that they're working on, and he doesn't like it. And that's fine, because that is him. But, if he's going to start preaching about political stuff, it's why do we automatically give that just because you're on TV? It doesn't mean you're right.
Well, I think that also goes back to our politicians now. What education do they have that makes them that they should be leading our country?
Yeah, because
what's our mayor's political background?
Yeah, he's a wrestler.
He's a wrestler.
Well, you got
an awesome wrestler.
Jesse the Body Ventura was a senator in Minnesota.
How about
we go back to Arnold
Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, we go back to Arnold, and he was the governor of California. But
then again, the greatest quarterback of all times went to Stanford.
Who?
John motherfucking Elway.
Okay. All time? Like
All time.
Montana's not on Montana's. I mean, honestly, I don't like to say this out loud given the last year's 2019 Super Bowl bet, but Brady's got a good argument at this point, and I hate to say that out loud.
No.
I'm just curious where he's going. You got a bet on that? Put that on tape.
Someone said they're talking about San Francisco.
I've heard he's coming here. Coming to Nashville.
Coming to Nashville?
Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about him coming to Nashville because
I'm going to burn my fucking Tennessee Titans jacket.
I'll tell you what, like when Manning left Indianapolis, there was rumor of him going to Dallas, and I was like, man, I like Peyton Manning. Please don't ruin it. Please don't go to Dallas and ruin everything.
I just can't like Brady.
I can't either, but you gotta give him a little something.
Well, yeah, when you cheat, you can be great.
Sure. Where's Congress stepping on Deflategate and all the different
No, they don't care about
issues
that.
there? I don't know. Maybe
They don't care about that because it was two white people.
No, well, I don't know. They went after Kraft for the handy at the massage parlor. Try to get him on sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking for getting a handy at a massage parlor.
He was like, I wasn't moving.
Yeah, they came to me.
I think he owned some of the parlors, did he not?
I don't know. I don't know that part of it.
Well, good for him.
And I think there was.
I don't know the story, so I'm just thinking.
Some of these parlors to have people brought in because he was bringing a lot of his clients and friends or whatever to the parlor.
I mean, I guess it's possible, but I guess it follows the line of the.
He's like, oh, you've got the same three people. Yeah, you're gonna need to bring somebody else in, or I'm not bringing people in.
Yeah.
But I think it just
goes.
goes.
It's a cry. Yeah, we do that.
I just think it goes back to people have freedoms, but then our Congress tries to step in and say, not that much freedom. And when it goes to sports, they're like, does the president of this team, the owner of this team, have the right to say who he wants to hire and who he doesn't want to hire?
Right.
And do we
even if it's racist? I mean.
Yeah, I mean that's a long conversation on the whole African Americans. We've off mic talked about that a lot, but I don't know. I don't think they have any place in anything, but I don't think that our government has place in most of the stuff.
The way you said they there, I was confused on which they you were talking about for a second. I was like, damn, son. But I mean,
they don't have any place.
They're just better at them all. That's why we got to get rid of them. No, I think you're right. I think that's the general consensus that I would agree with on how much. I mean, it's like on stuff they should step in on that makes sense. Like the whole we've gone about this a little bit off mic too about college athletes getting paid, which most states now are going to let them get paid for likeness, but not to play.
For they can sell autographs and jerseys and stuff like that.
Right. Well, if their jersey is selling, they'll get a percentage of jersey sales of their jersey. So if it's again, just because it's an easy example, Peyton sold, I don't know how many gajillion jerseys while he was here as a student athlete. And now he'd get $1 a jersey or whatever personally. And it's like, you can't go halfway on that. I mean, it's all the way or none.
Mm-hmm. You can't have one college because if California, who I heard they passed something that players can be paid. I mean, if I'm a young kid in high school and I can go to USC and make money, or I can go to Alabama and win a national championship.
Well, see, USC might have the scam on that anyway because they traditionally never put names on jerseys. It's just numbers, and I don't know. Yeah, UCLA would be a good one. Stanford. I mean, there's plenty of examples. Yeah.
Just
you said USC, and I was thinking about that because they never put names on jerseys there.
But still, the number.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows that number is that person or whatever. But yeah, if I was a young kid, and I guess it all depends on my social standing in life. Is do I come from a bad background where my family's struggling, and I know that
I can kick that money home and help take care of my mom and my brother and sister or whatever for sure.
Exactly. So you're going to have dominant California teams, and then other states. Alabama's going to have to follow quick.
Well, right. Well, what it'll come down to is you're going to have those super donors, those super donors that already exist in the way they are super donors when they get coaches moved around because they want them to. Like we have the Haslams here that are super donors at UT, where they'll be like, "Yeah, get that kid in here." Well, he wants, he wants to go play there because there's going to get him jersey sales. Well, Tennessee's got it legal now too, and we'll sell him in pilot.
Yeah, we'll sell him in
we'll make sure his jerseys sell.
Yeah,
we can't say come play here and we'll give you $10,000 a year, but come play here, and I guarantee you'll sell $10,000 worth of jerseys a year.
Yeah, or $10 million.
Right, or whatever the number is. But we can, those super donors who don't give a shit and have the money to do it, will be like they'll have warehouses full of jerseys.
Yeah,
and they'll give them away or whatever.
Whether it's like they already do the free paper on Friday.
Right. The free
Billy Johnson jersey on
right.
Friday, and then he gets $1 for every jersey that's given away.
All right, we should do Cooter. What's his name?
Cooter Brown.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob
Cooter should be our default random UT player name of all time. It's the best thing ever happened. He was in Dallas for a while as a coach. He was coaching somewhere.
He's still coaching, I think.
Yeah. I mean, best backup quarterback name maybe in the history of sports.
When this podcast goes live, there's gonna be a bunch of people in our comments like, "No, this was wrong. This was wrong. This was wrong."
That's fine.
That's because we just make up statistics.
We didn't disclaim. We didn't start with
we gotta start with a disclaimer.
Maybe we should. Future episodes, it'll be
some of these statements may be false, but not intentional.
Yeah, you know that 75% of stats are made up, right?
At least that one is. But. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's but that's the point. I mean, again, to reiterate, the point of the podcast to me is that we're not trying to be like this isn't pro debates where we've got a moderator over here telling us the rules of the debates and whatever scoring system a debate has.
No, I would win.
The idea is that normal people have normal conversations and they're not going to be perfect on the stats and the figures.
Yeah, this is kind of a bad topic because we're kind of all on the same side of it.
Yeah.
I think that we're not. It's not. Enough. Well, you're an idiot.
Yeah. Well, that's what. Well, Ted's here by default. When Ted's here, that's by default on me. He's going to call me an idiot on anything, no matter what.
You mean Jim?
We can make fun of Jim Ted since he's not here. It's his fault for sleeping in or whatever he's doing right now. The one that I get lost on a lot, and I have mixed feelings on, is paying college athletes. Or the one I don't have mixed feelings on is Olympic athletes. They need to get fucking paid.
They should get paid because that's a United States thing. That's not Olympic thing. And so there are certain sports like basketball, for instance,
right,
where you can have professional athletes play in it.
Right.
But you have, let's say, gymnastics. The top end gymnastics player is usually a kid. Like when you
get scholarships though. They get to go.
They do get scholarships,
but
that's
you get next. I mean, gymnastics is a tough. I mean, it's not a tough example.
Subway and all
sorts
of bullshit.
Yeah, but like when you look at gymnastics is a great example of, usually college sports is the precursor for you being great. Like you go to college and then you go on to do whatever.
Right, gymnastics
is great.
You're past your prime.
Exactly.
By the time you get to college.
Most of the college gymnastics people are not prepping for the Olympics. They're prepping they're already retired from the Olympics kind of thing. So it's interesting in that, but it's a lot of the Olympic sports. Your finale of your sport is the Olympics. That's the end.
Right.
It's not like football and baseball and all this stuff. There's no professional. There's professional wrestling,
but not wrestling.
Right. There's not professional table tennis. They're not. Is table tennis
I'd say
sport?
You get into China and stuff though. I bet you they have some pretty functional
weird leagues.
Well, I mean, they are the best on the planet at it by far. But I mean, I agree. I mean, it's like it's weird to me. I mean, what they put soccer in last summer games, right? It's the first time they did soccer, but it was like the 18 and under.
They've been doing soccer for a while.
Really?
Pretty sure.
I thought they only added it a couple years ago.
I don't know.
A couple summer games ago.
No.
But it's still, you don't get it's not World Cup quality. It's not the best of the best on the planet.
No. For America. I can't remember her big name, but she went to like UNC.
Well, ladies soccer.
Mia Hamm.
Yeah,
Mia Hamm. I was going to say that.
Did she play?
That was in the 90s, but that was the women's national team.
Yeah, but did she play professional soccer?
U.S. didn't have I don't think the U.S. had a professional league. I think they were like some semi-pro leagues.
But is there?
It wasn't the WMLS.
Is there a world? Does like England and Germany and some of the big soccer countries have female soccer pro leagues?
Not to my knowledge.
No, they do for when it comes to obviously the World Cup, but there's not
right.
like
There's ladies, yeah, but it's not like there's a ladies national team or ladies cup league teams that are feeding the national team. Like I just think it's weird. Like hockey's a weird one too, because like I get it on both sides. Like hockey's a weird one in that like a couple of years for a while there, you got to go, like NHL players got to go play for their home country because NHL, especially in winter sports, is about as international as it gets. I would say it's. I'd say outside of soccer, it's probably the most international sport of the major sports of the big sports that have major pro leagues.
Which sport?
Hockey. I mean, what's bigger? Baseball? No. Football? No. Soccer? Maybe, but soccer has not had the legs in the Olympics. Like, I mean, the World Cup is the Olympics for soccer, so that doesn't really count.
Nobody really likes hockey.
I like hockey. I'm wearing my hockey pants right now.
Yeah, that's because you're a loser.
Yeah, I like hockey. Steve likes hockey. I'm trying. I mean, honestly,
basketball maybe.
It's getting there. I mean, you got those weird Eastern European guys. You had Yao Ming and what's his name, Jeremy Lin.
Well, there is a whole European basketball
pretty
league.
Much just got Europe.
And there's a Chinese basketball league.
But again,
you don't have much Asians in hockey.
When you're talking winter sports, though, like what winter sports? There's not a lot of African countries that have anything in winter sports. There's not a lot of South America. Right, Jamaica's not an African country.
It's well,
it has many Africans.
Hey, it's located between America and Africa.
Sorta. There's not a lot of South American. I mean, it's like not like in Argentina is a very mountainous country, but they're not fielding a ton. I mean, when you look at the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, you have. I mean, China does have a lot of action in it, but it's all your Norways, your Swedens, your Frances, your Germanys, your Americas, your Canadas, and so of that field of countries that fields most of the Winter Olympics, hockey has a pretty good presence in all of those countries. Now, the best pro league is the NHL, but I mean, and that's okay. Let me flip it over then. The NHL has probably the most diverse nationality base of all sports, of all major pro sports. Neil's on his second Coca-Cola. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by.
I'm still going soccer.
But they don't. But okay. Of winter sports, which soccer.
Now, since we're talking about Olympics, going off on a tangent, I think it's kind of weird that like when you think of America, how big America is and how it competes with. Well, obviously Russia's a big size, but I think it's pretty amazing how these small countries in Europe, England, which is what size of California.
England has some legal skips, but yeah,
you know what I mean. But all these countries. What do you think?
England the size of California.
Well, how big do you think? How comparatively, how do you think?
United Kingdom, like the whole island, or just England?
Maybe Georgia.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, I'm just saying it's a lot. It's when you like if you took Europe and all the countries in Europe,
stack them all together, they're less than the continental United States.
Yeah, but they're like individual states. But when we compete in the Olympics, we compete with all those different countries as individuals. We don't have a Georgia team. We don't have a Texas team. We don't have a New York team. But when you look at medals, they keep up with America. Like, America should dominate in all those. You would think that we would just be so much better, but we're not. And that kind of trips me out why that's not true. Or the other question is, sometimes people perform better than they should.
Well, I mean, I think there is a lot of little sub rules to who you get to compete for in the Olympics. Because I mean, there's a lot. I would say in the average Olympics, made up stat. Don't quote me on this exactly, but I would say more than 50% of the athletes that compete in, I would go winter games specifically, are U.S. residents, whether they're U.S. citizens or not. Because you get into there's all sorts of weird like sub rules about.
Well, yeah, like you had, what was his name from the Spurs?
Ginobili, right, for Greece.
Yeah. He played for the Greece team, and so, but if America competed state-wise, where it was not by the country, by the state,
Right.
I think that we would have a lot more medals when it
Well,
comes
because
to
I
Olympics.
mean, yeah, and you illustrate. Well, I don't know. You didn't. I don't know if you meant to or not, but you indirectly illustrate the difference in that we have in the U.S. probably have 10 athletes that compete on the world stage in a particular sport, but by the rules of the sport, we only get to put 2 in the event, where every other country gets 2 in the event. So they have the best 2 out of their country. We have 2 of the best out of our country.
And so you're gonna have that guy that's number 8 that just fucking goes off for whatever reason,
right,
and then wins that event where the guy who was
you got guys in certain countries like probably a good bit of your African countries. What was it? A couple of years ago, I remember they were talking about in the opening ceremonies. Guy was like a janitor, he barely did whatever the sport was, like high school or not high school, like rec league basketball. Like that was his expertise, but he had the time and the effort to go through the process and doing all the paperwork and stuff. And so he's like one of like 7 people from this country in the Olympics. And I mean, he got to go compete. And you've got guys that are on D-League basketball here. I don't remember what the sport was, but like the lowest rung of professionalism here that'll mop the floor with him in whatever the sport was. But because he's from a random country, he got a shot. I always joke about Rulon Gardner took my Olympic spot. Like he was a nobody that he wasn't high on. He had that tournament that he had his tournament of his lifetime.
And then he made the Olympic team. Then he went on to the Olympics and was not supposed to do shit in the Olympics and ended up beating the Russian and winning the gold medal. It was like
that could have been me.
It should have been me. That was 1996 when I was training for the Olympics.
Wasn't you in the Corps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 1996. I could be wrong. I think it was 1996. Well, in the comments below, tell me if I'm right or wrong.
That would have been for Atlanta. Yeah. That was Atlanta Summer Olympics was 96.
That was here?
No. 96.
You want to talk about some corruption? We can talk about the Olympic Committee and where they put the games and
yeah, they're talking about canceling because for the whole coronavirus because it's supposed to be in
Beijing
Japan
or something. Where is it this year?
I think Tokyo.
It's in Tokyo.
I think so.
I mean, it's a problem. I mean, that's a lot of people in one space.
There's already a lot of people in a small space.
Yeah. Well, it's weird though. I was watching James May's got a new Amazon Prime docu-series or whatever, and it's like white guy in Japan or whatever, and it's like a 10-episode thing, and he starts on the northern point. I
know he won the Roland Gardner won the next year 2000. So I was training in 96, which would have
right. If you were going into it, you would go into it.
Yeah.
The next one, yeah.
In 2000.
But yeah, so yeah, he starts at the northern point and goes all the way down the islands of Japan or whatever, and like talking about like you get to Tokyo or whatever, and it's stacks on stacks on stacks of people. But you get out some of the other. I mean, there is some country, like there is some open country.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I always have the image of Japan in my head where it's just people everywhere. You
giant
look.
City.
It's just one giant. Yeah.
Well, a great example is the United States. Like you go to New York, you're like, oh, these motherfuckers live on top of each other, and then you go to Nebraska, and you're like,
where is everybody? Yeah.
No.
I heard one that's pretty funny. It's like, what Americans think of Texas is what the world thinks of Americans. That was a funny. I was like, yeah, that's pretty. I mean, because every time you hear an international person making fun of American, oh, that's a Texan. Yeah, I get it.
When I was in Germany, I visited my friend's younger brother's 3rd grade class, and one of the kids did ask if schools were in skyscrapers. So we're like, they're 3rd graders. That's how they envisioned America as well. Which
is crazy because Japan
a land of giant buildings and skyscrapers everywhere.
Because you think, I mean, going back to the size conversation, I mean, what was that Volkswagen commercial from a couple years ago? Germany, a country the size of the state of Wisconsin. I mean, I don't know what the residency.
You got like the world's 3rd largest GDP. Right.
Again, same premise as your Olympics conversation. You take the states and divide them. California alone would have the 3rd largest GDP or second, or it'd be top 5 or something like that on the planet if California was a country on its own, which I'm okay with that, honestly. But
I think we should all have separate countries. I think they should
divide
all the states as separate countries like Europe.
Screw you, Rhode Island.
Let's see. Well, I mean, let's talk about how well the European Union did. Brexit, and because I don't know if we're going that way, because you had the whole Grecian economy collapse, and that's one of the things that was one of the beginnings of the Brexit conversation, was that they were, Britain's economy being strong was pulling the weight of these weaker countries that were part of the Union, and that's where
Germany, not Great Britain.
No, well, England was too before they haven't officially left yet.
Right.
But that was one of the talking points, is that it was an immigration issue. It was the open borders immigration issue that was the Union. But I don't know. I mean, to go back to what he was saying, I don't know if we went that style. I don't know how that would work for us.
Would you have passports to go to Kentucky?
Right. Or it would be, European Union style. You wouldn't.
Oh yeah, you just drive.
But I don't know. It could work better here in that function, because we're used to that as an idea, that it's where Germany to Greece, or Germany to all these other countries, is a little bit more problematic because of the tradition of I'm German, you're not, where we still have a baseline. We're Americans. I'm a Tennessee American. You're, a Texas American. You're a, Ohio American, whatever. We still have that kind of baseline. So it might work better here, but I think that was a big push that I think Europe is still having a hard time dealing with, because they were their individuality. There was the individuality there first, where we'd be doing it backwards. So it might work better. I mean, it doesn't. I don't know. That's the conversation that we will have 1,000 times on here. But it'll be a lot more entertaining when Ted's here, because Ted's the globalist of the group.
Yeah. But the government should have no play in sports at all.
Again, yeah, I agree, because it should be no more than they have in any other business. No more than they have in, I mean, I don't know, whatever you want to.
Well, you don't have to have a minimum wage issue when it comes to sports.
No, you don't. The league puts those on, and I mean, I don't know. The union would be an interesting one if the league tried to drop the union, and how that would go down. I don't know how strong the players' union. I mean, the players' union's super strong. I mean, and they've had problems. They've gone on strikes, and they've had lockouts and stuff because of the collective bargaining agreement issues over the years. And they're brewing through one right now, and I haven't really followed it super tight, other than they're trying to add a game and add a playoff game.
Yeah, which they don't want to do.
I mean, I don't want, as a fan, I'm not sure I want them to do it. I still like. I don't know how much it make a difference.
Well, it does make a difference. You're adding a team in that could, because wild card teams do
make
win
runs.
the Super Bowl.
I mean, it's
happened.
It's the NFC East's fault, because we keep having year in and year out this sub 500 or right at 500 team.
But I don't know why the players union would be against it, because those teams that currently have to play that extra game are already playing that extra game.
I mean, it's a compensation issue. If I have a $5 million a year contract, is it getting increased by whatever percent for an extra game, or is it going to stay $5 million a year?
Do they increase it currently?
I mean, I don't know how. I assume there is some contract incentive to get into when you get into the playoffs, and you're getting paid more.
So right now, that's currently already on the table. So if you take a team what do we have right now? We have 2, 4,
32,
6, 8 from each side.
6. Because
there's 2 wild card games. Oh, yeah, 6.
Yeah,
2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, 6 from each side that go in. So we're talking about adding 2 teams or 4 teams, 2 from each side, for that extra game. So if you added those 4 teams in, would that team that was not going to play, but that did make the original play, would play? You know what I'm saying?
So it'd be one team that would have one extra game, or 4 teams total that would have one extra game.
There'd be 4 teams that had one extra game, which currently there's already 4 teams that have one extra game. So it's not changing anything.
Well, financially maybe on that one, but they're talking about adding a regular season game as well.
Oh, adding a regular season game.
Right.
Okay, I understand.
But they're talking about taking out.
I would understand that concept where you're arguing that add a regular season game, but for the playoff game, that doesn't matter.
Right, but they're talking about taking out and going to 2 preseason games, adding a regular season game, and adding a playoff game, essentially. And so I don't know. My concern more is not about money, but it is about the quality of the games. Whether it's going to start, you're going to get more games where you're going to get like a mid-season where players are getting sat because you want to rest them up because you're in the right record. You're in a good spot in the standings to kind of take a game off, and you're going to sit your starting quarterback for a week just to give him a break.
I haven't heard that much about it. I mean, what is the pitch? They think it's just going to add more revenue of adding another game?
Yeah, obviously, because I mean, you think I don't know how much numbers are on regular season games. I mean, because they're all regionally dumped because we only get whatever games here, and then there's the Monday night's a national game, Sunday night's a national game, Thursday night's a national game, but the main set of games at noon or 1 and 4 o'clock locally are only regional showings.
I mean, how often do teams play teams outside of their division?
The rule in football.
I think, if you're only adding like 2 more games,
so the rule,
it's kind of weird. You're either going to double play.
No, you won't. There's plenty of room to not have a repeat game because you got
just non-conference games.
So the standard thing is you play your conference twice. So you're like my Packers are NFC North, so they'll play Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago at home and away. So that's 6 games of the 16. You play one other division in total. You play 2 other divisions in total, one AFC, one NFC. So that's 4 more games each. So that's 8 plus the 6. That's 14. And then you have 2 at-large games where it's the 2 teams that had the nearest record to yours from the prior season. So like I'll end up playing it. Like Packers will have Seattle this year, I think.
So they do have a way of trying to even out
Right.
schedules.
But in that 16 game current season, you're playing your division twice. So that's that's 3 teams in the league. You're playing 15 of the 31 other teams in the league in the current format. So there's plenty of other teams to mix in.
Well, I want to go with your XFL, NFL, best team in the XFL plays the worst team in the NFL, and they switch. I like that idea.
What I would like to see, because this goes into our paying college athletes thing, I would like to see the XFL,
The Premier League.
That's my college football argument more than anything. But I'd like to see the XFL turn into a developmental league, and go like legitimately as the XFL go specifically after high school, early college, junior college guys, not guys that are going to go play and start for Alabama's or USC's or Notre Dame's or whatever, but go out and hire straight out of high school and make it a developmental league instead of an alternate football league.
Well, I think it is a developmental league, even though I think currently it's a developmental
league.
league.
I think you're right. I think you're going to have guys that got passed up in the draft or whatever that are playing there that are going to get noticed and they're going to come over. Because you got guys that play in the NFL now that were CFL guys, and Canadian football is very subpar comparatively to the quality of the NFL game.
I don't think I've ever seen a Canadian football game.
I've
seen it on ESPN or whatever.
They'll do highlights on SportsCenter.
It's similar, but they have like an extra 2 or 3 players per team.
It's a different. It's a whole. Yeah. It's. There's a bunch of different little stuff.
Points are a little different.
XFL's neat. Have you watched it all?
The XFL?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the kickoff thing's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The one thing I'm curious about is the onside, but I think they kind of offset the need for the onside with the extra point rule.
Yeah, the 3 yard, 5 yard,
Right.
7 yard, or
if they want to go next level on that,
10 yards.
they need to have field goals be graduated as well.
Are they still doing the indoor football league?
No, arena football.
Arena
No.
football, yeah.
I think they still got the
It's
girl.
like
I think
half
that
the field.
they got the bikini game. The
Bikini.
girls one still around. I think.
Yeah, that's never going to end.
I mean, it sells itself.
Yes.
It's kind of weird.
Chicks in bikini with fucking
it's just weird.
pads.
Like that to me is the closest thing to real life, like Warcraft female characters. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's like the battle hardened woman that has an outfit that does not make sense.
Still showing some legs.
Right. There was a funny little video I saw on Facebook or whatever. These guys do like video games in real life, and like they have this one where it's like the guy's the blacksmith and he's in the shop and he's building armor or whatever, and the chick comes in and she's like, I need level 10 armor, and he goes, "Mink." It's just like a loincloth and a bikini top. It's pretty perfect. But again, I would like to see the XFL specifically function as a development in the league instead of an offset. Like really try to compete with college football as a standalone developmental league instead of it being a what are you doing to me?
I'm not doing anything to you.
You're creeping me out.
I'm just doing a little TikTok video while we're sitting here, you know.
Oh, of course you are.
That's what we do.
I thought it was Periscope. I thought you were a Periscoper.
No, we're doing TikTok.
Okay. Get our name out there on the TikTok. That's what the kids are into these days.
Exactly.
But I'd like to see XFL try to go that revenue, because then that would put the pressure on college football to figure something out. Because I think college football has become a crappy product as a whole. This is something that I really want to argue with Ted about, and we'll do it again later, I'm sure. But I mean, it's who's playing Alabama or who's playing Clemson this year. I mean, this year was anomalous because Alabama kind of fizzled out at the tail end of the year. But there's like 5 teams, and that's all. That's really all. It's going to be 3 or 4 of those 5 teams that are the 4 teams in the playoffs year in and year out. And it's
still got some upsets through the season.
You get some. And the way that college football works is there's so many teams is you get that one upset that can be a deal breaker for your entire season. But
so when you have someone like Clemson that doesn't play anybody, it's an advantage for them.
Yeah. Was that like Baylor or some other like teams that were kind of like middle of the road but ended up being damn near undefeated seasons?
Right.
And beating top ranked teams.
Right, you do, but it's not.
That's why we need to rework the college football.
So you are going to have me go down that thing?
Yes.
Yeah. So Steve, describe to the listeners how Premier League works, how English football, soccer, as far as the relegation rules.
Don't know the exact points of it, but it's generally the lowest 3 of. I think they've got it broken down in maybe a total of 4, but at least 3 leagues.
Right.
So top league at the end of the season, lowest 3 teams get relegated.
Right.
To the second tier team.
Right.
Whereas in that team below, I believe it's the top 2, or I guess they would do the top 3. Essentially, switch places with those top 3.
Right. So you're the best. So when you're the best team in the second in the second tier, at the end of the year, you get to go
promoted.
You get promoted to the top tier, and then you play a whole season in the top tier. And if you can at least get out of the bottom 3, you stay there.
Right.
I would like that same premise applied to college football. I think you take you do 4 super conferences, and each conference.
Well, you do 8 super conferences, 4 in the bottom, 4 in the top.
Well, you 4 super conferences, and you'd have the top tier and the bottom tier. So like you take the SEC, ACC, and a couple other schools and shove them all together. And so you would have, and then your schedule would be, if it stays as a 12-game season, your schedule is like 9 of your games are the top tier of your division, and then 3 of the games are the bottom tier of your division or something like that. So everybody you play is in your division, so that at the end of the season, you have like 1 and 2 play each other for the conference championship game, and that team goes into the tournament that plays the other 4 super conferences championship winner. And then same deal though, at the end of the season, if you're a Kentucky or you're a Vanderbilt.
Why don't you have like 3 teams from the top division and then 1 team from the bottom division, that whoever won the bottom division plays in the super?
Well, I think you do a division, a lower tier sub tournament that goes on at the same time. I think you take, like, if you're going to take, you take the top 2 from, so the new SEC, as we're going to call it. So Division A of the new SEC, you take the top 2 at the end of the year. I mean, even further, you have an East and West in the top division, and you take the East winner, West winner, and they play in the conference championship. That's game 1 of the tournament, and that gets them into the main tournament. You take the top team from the bottom tiers, they play each other, and then you have a bottom tier tournament that runs simultaneously. And then at the end of the year, bottom 2 or 3 teams drop, top 2 or 3 teams from the bottom division come up and go from there. Because then you have Southern Florida and
so you're saying basically 4 teams, 4 leagues, and then each league has a top tier and a bottom tier. I got you.
Right.
I was thinking, yes.
Right. What
that
I was
makes
calling,
more
right,
sense.
I'm calling conference, but like just to keep the conference terminology that we currently use kind of straight, you just have 4 super conferences, and those 4 super conferences would present a champion, and those champions go into the new tournament style. Because again, let's say you take a Southern Florida or like a lot of these teams that don't really get a good shot at anything because they're essentially in what Division I football treats as a lower tier league anyway.
Yeah, you go undefeated and then you
Right.
end up 7th, so you don't make the
You
tournament.
got MAC teams and Suncoast Conference and all
Hey,
those.
we're the best of the worst.
Right. But you're the best of the worst, and you get to play the best next year, and you get to be in the best division next year. And if you could stick around and you could be at least get a couple years that you stay in the middle where you don't get relegated down, your recruiting's going to go up, your financing, your financials will go up. You're going to have more money, more better players to recruit, and all that kind of stuff. And then you can take a team like Boise. How many years in a row did Boise State like really compete
It's
and
like 2 or 3.
never got a shot? You know, and if they would have done that in this system, that second year they would have most likely gone up into the higher tier of whatever the new West Coast conference we put together is. And if they would continue to perform that well, they'd be up there in conversation with like USC's and Oregon's and stuff like that. And then there wouldn't be some weird, well, they're only a MAC team, so they don't really count. Or I guess they're Mountain West, but whatever. They don't really count. They don't play anybody good enough to be in one of the real bowl games. So it takes that kind of conversation out. So I
For
think,
sure.
which again,
But then we have Congress step in and say, no, we can't do that.
You guys are being fair.
You guys are being fair.
Not to my constituents.
right. I'm from Nashville, and I don't see Vandy. Vandy keeps getting lowered and lowered and lowered. I mean, I'll tell you what, if you were on the bottom of the bottom tier for long enough, just erase them from the thing and bring in some Division II school or something like that.
University of Anchorage, you guys always forget about us up here. You guys forget we're up next to Canada. You guys come for our games all sometimes.
That's true. I never think about the fact that I guess they have a hockey program that's pretty good. I see them in the national championship hockey tournament.
Anchorage.
It's a university. I don't know. I don't remember what it is. It's Alaska. It's either University of Alaska or
Probably Fairbanks.
might be Fairbanks. Yeah, but it's it is an Alaska college.
I've never even thought about that. You know, you see Hawaii a lot. I've never seen
there's Hawaii.
like.
The teams get to go there all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I want to do away game in Hawaii this year.
Right.
Well, you know what's interesting. I don't know if you've looked at like Hawaii football, but they have tutors.
Yeah, they travel with the team.
That-
They'll spend like half their season.
Yeah,
the
they'll come down to the cool parts of the states for like 4 or 5 weeks, and they'll play away games. And while they're there, they have classes
Makes sense.
because the travel just does not work out.
Yeah.
So I'm told. I could be fucking lying.
I know. I think you're right because I think I remember watching a Hawaii game because like one thing that's fun about Hawaii games is when they're Hawaii home games, they kick off at midnight. And back when I was in the bar, and it's like whole game of Saturday football, and you've been just watching football since noon. It's like football, and it's like 11:30. It's like, oh man, the day's over. We're out of football. Oh wait, there's a Hawaii game on. Yeah, get to watch some Hawaii
Where's
football.
Their football
Then
game
you
and
call
it's
your
sunshine?
bookie. You're like, oh shit.
Hey, dude, I went to bed. Games are over. No, Hawaii hasn't kicked off yet. You gotta give me a nickel on Hawaii tonight. I feel it. That was one of those trope bets too. It's always like, always bet Hawaii at home. Never bet against Hawaii at home. Not because they're that good, but because everybody's
They're on the beach.
Right,
They're
you're
getting sunburned.
right. You're Boise State or Oregon State or whatever traveling out to Hawaii. You're like, oh wait, we gotta play football over here.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Just got off an 11-hour flight.
Right.
And it's a myth that black people don't have to wear sunscreen. They do get burned.
That's true.
I just saw a guy on YouTube was talking about like, why all you white people think that black people don't have to wear sunscreen?
Oh yeah, it was a stand-up guy. I saw that one.
Yeah. He's like, We get burned too. We had to put sunscreen on. He's like, and all you white people in the audience think, really? And I was watching that video going,
Really?
really? Damn, I'm a racist.
No, you're just ignorant about certain things, which is fair. What was it? Who was I watching? I was watching a stand-up. He was talking about that too. He was talking about how it's not the whole black don't crack joke. It's like, it's not that. It's that we learn early and often that lotion is a good thing. White folks don't do lotion very well. And it's like, because I guarantee you your elbows are ashy too. You just can't see the ash because it's white.
We're just whiter.
Yeah. He's talking about, it was a white guy. He's talking about he's dating a black girl. And she's like, no, you get ashy too. He's like, no, I don't get ashy. And she ran her nails down his arm and all the flakes came up. And he's like, oh shit.
Crazy white people.
Yeah, we are something. I don't know. But so politics needs to get out of sports. That was easy.
Yeah.
And again, my big summation is just because they're on TV doesn't mean they know. Doesn't mean they have the knowledge of, and so just take them. I mean,
well, but when it comes to sports, it's the same as like movie actresses. And,
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. They're using their
platform.
Position. Yeah, their position as a platform.
So why does Whoopi Goldberg know
access to exposure
more about politics than us, or
right? Because the View's
whoever.
The View's a great one because you have what's her name, McCain, John McCain's daughter. It's on there. Like, she has an entire life in politics. She spent her entire life around her dad. She was active in his offices and stuff like that as a politician or as an assistant to a politician, and she is the least respected person on the show with the most political background on the show, and they talk politics issues all the time. And she's a conservative on that show, which doesn't help her case either. But it's like,
no, they have her on the show so they can make fun of her.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, The View is trash.
Yeah, it's
and if anyone wants to listen to our podcast that loves The View,
stop listening.
Stop listening because you won't like it.
Well, if you love The View, you're gonna. It's not that you're gonna. We'll be triggering all sorts of stuff as this show continues. That we will trigger the shit out of you if you're a View fan, because.
But is that talking head the problem, or is it our lack of knowledge that we should not be listening to and
right.
know that person doesn't have?
Which is a funny thing.
Welcome to their views and.
Right.
Like,
well, the problem is, like, we're a bunch of scum. I don't know the word. We're a bunch of nobodies in Knoxville, Tennessee. So who wants to listen to our political whatever views we have on anything?
Right, but we have probably just as much or more insight than a lot of the people that people look to for it.
But I think, J-Lo has an opinion. She puts it on Twitter and everybody knows. Or,
right.
Whoever.
Right, it's the self-defeating statement I'm about to make is that you shouldn't listen to us anymore then. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to put this podcast together to put our opinions out there, even though one of our opinions is you shouldn't listen to people just because they have a platform. But I think that's the point. I think that, again, that's the point of the show to me, is that we aren't anybody. We don't have... This isn't starting on a platform. None of us have a platform other than our very small circle of friends.
We're encouraging discussion and discourse.
Right. And to end a conversation, and we'll get hot on here from time to time, I'm sure. But I don't think any parts of that are going to end up with us liking each other any less on the other side.
No, I can't dislike you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
This hatred cannot grow any deeper.
Right, because I know
exactly.
once we get rolling, I'm going to make some vet joke that's going to get me in big trouble. And all the vets that follow us are going to scream at me.
I will never throw away my voodoo doll of you.
I will keep on hitting it.
Well, I appreciate that I'm important enough to be voodoo doll-sized.
Let's see here. That, flip.
So
what the fuck, man?
You are all witnessing.
Where are you at, man?
No, you're videoing Ted.
Yeah.
I got to figure that out. So all of our listeners out there who know how
what the fuck, man?
Tech stuff works, we got to figure out how to do phone ins on this.
We're here.
because
You're not.
At some point I'd like to get some interviewees. But but yeah, again, it's just because I think the onus is on us as the consumer. Like your question, you kind of were asking. I think the onus is on us as the consumer because obviously people are watching The View, which gets them their ad revenues, which keeps their show on the air. It's all a money conversation.
But are people watching The View because they liked Whoopi and Sister Act? They liked
Maybe
Bubba
started.
Walters on 60 Minutes. Or they like, these are people that they admired for what they did as.
Baba Wawa was 2020.
Right, but
Exactly. So do they like these people in a situation that does not have to do with their personal opinion?
so I guess the question is, do you keep watching it past Whoopi's super funny. I want to see her more Whoopi. I love Whoopi. I want to see Whoopi, and then you keep watching it, and you continue watching it after the fact that you get over that it's not her being the comedian that you knew her as.
I mean, some of it's marketing too. I mean, it's also, I think, their publicists pushing, their clients.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. I think the onus
Celebrity.
is. But that's why I think the onus is on the consumer base because they're getting the numbers to keep the show on the air.
Yeah, like I like John Elway. So if John Elway had a show, I would listen to him. And so does part of me go, oh, I agree with what John Elway says because I love him as an athlete, and then keep watching it because it's motherfucking John Elway. So where do you draw that line of I like this person as an athlete or a comedian or an actor or all that kind of stuff versus, a great person. What is her fucking name? Amy Poehler? No, not Amy Poehler. Oh, shit. What is her name? She's an actress.
Comedian?
She's a comedian and actress.
Sarah Silverman.
No.
I don't know what is it about her?
She was on that show where she thinks she's like being in the show, she's riding a bike and falls off, hits her head, and then she thinks she's absolutely gorgeous.
It was a show or a movie?
Movie.
Oh,
and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm fucking gorgeous," and then she like has this super confidence because she thinks she's good looking, but she's not changed who she is. Amy Schumer.
Yeah,
that's her. I love her as a fucking actress. I love her on TV, but when her political views and shit like that, I don't like. So it's a hard point of as a person, I don't agree with her on shit. But I think she's fucking hilarious as an actress.
That runs into that opens a big can of conversation, and maybe a future episode is like, maybe it's on the same point. It's like Michael Jackson. I'm a huge Michael Jackson, the artist, fan. He makes some great music.
But as a person?
But do I have to right? Am I allowed to separate the two things, or does it have to be all or nothing?
Yeah. Do you have to now hate all his music because he was molesting children in his fucking Neverland Ranch?
Right. And so that and I mean countless episodes of that same premise happen all over the place, and it's like, do we have to cut off? I mean,
So why do I not like? Well, why do I have to separate why cannot separate the two on Colin Kaepernick?
Right. That has been my point from the beginning. It's like I can like Colin Kaepernick, the athlete, and not like his political views. The real problem to me with the whole situation with him is that.
How vocal was he? I
the point was he wasn't.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was like, because the question is, does the NFL have the right to say no? This is part of your job. You have to do your job. Because the one thing is like, I'm not going to McDonald's and I'm not going to listen to some dude gripe about.
Didn't they meet some kind of like middle ground where they were like, okay, if you don't want to stand, then you can
stay in the tunnel or whatever.
Wait in the locker room.
I think that was already it had already kind of hit its critical mass at that point when they put that out there.
Well, and there's the other
because like one team there was one team that as a team they were like, we're going to stay in the locker room for the national anthem.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
And then what was the guy's name?
the guy that he was
an
a
Army
military
Ranger or something.
veteran,
Yeah.
and so he walked
stood
into the tunnel,
Right.
and then people were like, "Oh my God, he came out for the national anthem," which caused more things. And then he was like, "I didn't do it to like defy the team." He's like, "I did it because I love my country and I want to be out there, but I stayed in the tunnel
To show some respect to my team's wishes in the
yeah,
process. Or
he
whatever.
didn't think that it would become something, and he apologized for it all stuff. But like, yeah, I don't know how that goes. Like, as how do you still have your beliefs and then still like the other thing is I've heard and I don't have any factual on this, but I heard the whole thing with Colin Kaepernick is originally he didn't stand up just because he didn't want to stand up, like.
Oh, and then he just kind of made up an excuse.
And then they were like, "Why don't you stand up for the national anthem?" He was like, police brutality is." It was kind of an afterthought to the whole situation, which it wasn't. And this is going off of stuff you hear. I don't have any proof that that was the original situation either. And it's like, well, was he trying to save face, and that's why he said it, or I mean, is he a huge? I mean, I don't know what Colin Kaepernick has done for. Like, has he taken some of the $1 million he made to help with programs for police brutality? I mean, has he done anything for that, or has he just been?
Well, that goes into the great awareness campaigns out there. It's like, I got that yellow ribbon on my car for whatever cancer awareness or whatever. It's like, I'm pretty sure the pink ribbon. We got the big pink ribbon thing here with breast cancer. It's like, pretty sure we're all aware that breast cancer exists. Why are we still doing awareness campaigns? Summarize the official topic. There's no logical reason why the government should be in sports.
Nothing whatsoever. They shouldn't care about P-Rose gambling on fucking sports.
Right. That sports and sports media acting on political issues should be taken as on an individual basis. That individual is allowed to voice their opinion on it, but that's just a person talking about their opinion on whatever the political issues. Just because they have the stage as an athlete doesn't make them more or less correct on whatever issue they're speaking of.
Exactly.
But I don't have a
They
problem
just
with
have a
using
bigger
their
stage.
platform. Yeah, I don't have a problem with using their platform because when they use it for a good cause.
Well,
but
because the onus.
That's an opinion on
And
what a good cause is.
Well, but the main thing being that the onus is on us.
Sarah McLachlan and the
dogs,
dying puppies. Yeah.
The onus would be on us as the consumer of football, for the example, to choose whether or not said individual's opinion on a political issue is worth any more than my neighbor's opinion on said same issue. And I think that's the main thing.
Which it should be.
I think I think as a societal whole, and why it's such a big stink, and the Kaepernick knee thing specifically, since it's an easy example, it's such a big stink because he has such a big stage. But he only has the big stage because we give him the big stage on that. His only big stage that should matter to me as a football fan is his performance on the field. And if I agree with him on a political issue, then maybe I'll dig into that's how it should be. So I think the main thing to get out of this is that it's on us as the consumer to treat them as individuals with a big platform, not as a authority on a subject that has nothing to do. If he's going to talk about being quarterback in the NFL, he has an authority on that subject. But if he's going to talk about police brutality in the streets, we as a society need to look at him as an individual and then be like, does he have any authority on that? Does he have any knowledge on that? And should his opinion matter more to me than, I don't know, my cop buddy that works on the streets or whatever? So I think that's
at this point I would be really
buddy?
What?
You have a cop buddy?
No, I mean, no. It was an example.
I know a couple. Former police.
Well, they wouldn't be.
But at this point, I'd be really curious to ask him. At this point, did he do more like harm? Because it seems like it almost backfired that he didn't actually bring more attention to.
Right, he brought all the
brutality.
attention to himself.
Yeah, more of the attention was the acts that he did, and it was the whole debate of should we allow this in sports?
Right. It was it was the argument over it was our discussion of the night. It was the politics and sports conversation that happened, not is this shit that he's talking about an issue that needs to be dealt with
All right, I'm just
on
saying.
the national stage. No, I get what
I'd
you're
be
saying.
curious
Yeah,
to
yeah.
ask, like, well, what he would say at this point. Like, it seems like it would backfire.
Well, he's too busy demanding like $20 million a year to play football, which he's not worth, period.
No.
That was his XFL thing. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right, well, we're going to shut it down. I got nothing else. Have you got any closing statements?
Nope.
All right, first official episode in the books. Ted sucks.
It's your life, live it.
Yeah, and don't listen to us any more than you treat us like you treat everybody else, or treat everybody else like you treat us. Just people talking.